The moment I saw his name printed on my paycheck, my hands went cold. Daniel Whitaker. The same looping signature I'd once traced with my fingers, lying beside him on our honeymoon bed. The man who vanished without a trace 7 years ago was suddenly, impossibly, on my company payroll. I just sat there staring at the paper, the fluorescent lights of the HR office buzzing faintly above me. My manager, Cheryl, laughed nervously. "You okay, Claire? You look like you've seen a ghost." If only she knew how close that was to the truth. 7 years earlier, Daniel and I had been the couple everyone envied. We'd met in college, me, the quiet journalism major. Him, the charming finance student with a crooked smile that made you forget what you were saying midst. He wasn't just handsome. He listened. He remembered the smallest details, my favorite coffee order, the way my mother used to hum while cooking. He made ordinary days feel cinematic. Our wedding was small, just close family and a few friends. I still remember the smell of lilacs, the sound of Daniel whispering, "We're finally home," as we danced under the string lights in my parents' backyard. And then, 3 weeks later, he was gone. No fight, no warning, no note. Just his car found near the edge of Lake Merrin, doors locked, wallet inside, but no Daniel. Police ruled it a likely drowning. But I never believed that. There was no body, no closure, just an open wound that time refused to heal. I'd moved on, or at least, I told myself I had changed cities, changed jobs, learned to sleep again without waking up to phantom footsteps in the hallway, until today, because Daniel's name wasn't just on my paycheck. It was listed as the director of finance for the very company I'd started working for 6 months ago. My breath caught as Cheryl kept talking. "We're merging with another division next week. Apparently, their financial lead will be overseeing payroll for now Daniel Whitaker. You might get emails from him." Emails. From a man who was supposed to be dead. My heart was pounding so loud I barely heard Cheryl call my name again. I forced a smile, folded the check, and left the office before anyone could see my hands shaking. Out in the parking lot, I sat in my car, staring at the name on that check again, whispering the only words that would come out. "Daniel, what did you do?" Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments about which country you're watching this video from. Enjoy the story. I didn't know it yet, but finding out the truth about that paycheck would lead me into a world of secrets I never imagined my husband could keep. That night, I didn't sleep. I kept staring at that paycheck on my kitchen table, tracing his name with my thumb like it could explain itself. Daniel Whitaker, my husband, my ghost. By morning, I convinced myself there had to be an explanation. Maybe some guy with the same name. Maybe it was a typo. Anything but him. Still, I couldn't let it go. At work the next day, I logged into the internal company directory. My hands trembled as I typed Daniel Whitaker into the search bar. There he was. Profile, Director of Finance. Location, Corporate HQ Chicago. Status, active. His picture loaded a second later, and the room started spinning. It wasn't an old photo. It was recent. Shorter hair, clean shaven, but the same deep-set eyes, same faint scar near his temple. The one he got when he fell off his bike our first summer together. There was no mistaking it. My husband was alive. I printed the page, stuffed it in my bag, and told Cheryl I needed the afternoon off. She barely looked up. It was Friday, and she probably thought I was just burned out. She wasn't wrong, but not for the reason she thought. By evening, I was parked outside the Chicago headquarters. The building glowed with glass and steel, reflecting the city lights like a secret it refused to share. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, asking myself what I would even do if I saw him. Scream, cry, demand an answer, or just run. At 7:42 p.m., the front doors slid open, and I froze. A man in a charcoal suit stepped out, checking his phone. His posture was unmistakable. Daniel, older, thinner, but him. I ducked down in my car, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. He looked around for a second, as if sensing something, then crossed the street and disappeared into the parking garage. I stayed there for 20 minutes, shaking. Then, I followed. The garage was half empty, the sound of my heels echoing like gunshots. Daniel's car, a black Tesla, sat near the exit. As I approached, I noticed something strange. The license plate wasn't Illinois. It was from a small town in Michigan, the same place his car was found the night he disappeared. I took out my phone, snapped a photo, and that's when I heard it. "Ma'am, can I help you?" A security guard was standing behind me. Flashlight pointed at my chest. I thought I dropped something," I stammered. He frowned, studying my face. "You don't work here, do you?" "No, my husband does." I was waiting for him. The lie came too easily. "Well, this area's restricted after hours," he said firmly. "You'll have to leave." I walked away, every step echoing in the hollow space between past and present. When I reached my car, my phone buzzed. New email from Daniel Whitaker. Subject line, "We need to talk." My throat went dry. The timestamp read 7:44 p.m. He'd seen me. I must have stared at that email for a full 5 minutes before I opened it. From Daniel Whitaker. Subject, "We need to talk." Message, "If you value your safety, don't come here again. Meet me tomorrow, 9 a.m., Lake Marin Overlook." Alone, my pulse hammered in my ears. Lake Marin, the same place where his car was found, the same place where they said he died. I didn't sleep that night either. Every sound outside my window made me flinch. Was someone watching me? Following me? The rational part of my brain kept telling me to delete the email, to forget it. But 7 years of silence doesn't end with a paycheck and a warning. By morning, fog rolled in thick and heavy over Lake Marin. The air smelled of pine and something colder, memory, maybe. I parked by the overlook, engine running, headlights cutting through the mist. He was already there. Daniel stood near the guardrail, hands in his pockets, looking out over the water like he had 7 years ago. Only this time, he turned when he heard my car door slam. "Claire," he said softly, his voice. I'd replayed it in my head 1,000 times, but hearing it now felt like being struck by lightning. "You're alive," I whispered. Everyone thought, I know. He looked tired, older, but not broken. I had to disappear. I wanted to scream. Instead, I laughed, sharp, hysterical. "You had to disappear. You left me. You let me think you were dead." Daniel stepped closer, eyes darting to the trees. "I didn't have a choice. You wouldn't have been safe if I stayed." "What are you talking about? Safe? From who?" He hesitated, and that hesitation terrified me more than any answer. "There are people watching. The company, the one you work for, it's not what it seems." I blinked, confusion cutting through anger. "Daniel, it's a logistics firm. I edit press releases, not spy reports." He shook his head. "It's a front, Claire. Financial shell for something much bigger. They've been laundering money through dummy payrolls, fake employees. I was investigating, and I got too close." "Then why is your name on my check?" I demanded. He looked straight at me. "Because they're using me as one of those ghosts. They think I'm still dead, but someone must have realized the name was real. That's why you got paid under it. They're testing something." I stared at him, my heart ricocheting between disbelief and dread. "So what now? You're just going to vanish again?" Daniel's eyes softened. "No. This time, I need your help." Before I could respond, headlights flashed through the fog behind us. A black SUV slowed to a stop on the road. Daniel's face drained of color. "They found us," he whispered. Then he grabbed my arm. "Run." The word run barely left Daniel's lips before the first door of the SUV slammed open. "Go," he hissed, shoving me toward the trail that led down to the lake. I stumbled over roots and gravel, my breath tearing in my chest. Behind us, heavy footsteps pounded the ground to maybe 3 people. The fog swallowed everything, turning the world into shadows. I could hear Daniel close behind, his hand gripping mine, guiding me through the blur. My shoes slipped on the damp ground. Somewhere above us, a man shouted, "Stop! Federal agents!" Federal agents! My mind reeled. Who were they really, after him, or me? We ducked behind a fallen tree, hearts racing. Daniel leaned close, whispering, "They're not real agents. They work for the company." I wanted to believe this was a nightmare, but the fear in his voice was too real. "Daniel, what did you do?" He swallowed hard. "I copied files before I disappeared, records that could expose everyone involved. Offshore accounts, shell corporations, names. They thought they erased me, but I've been gathering proof. I just didn't know they'd trace it back to you." A beam of light cut through the fog. We froze. The flashlight swept inches from our faces, pausing just long enough to make my pulse stop. Then it moved on. Daniel squeezed my hand. "We need to get to the boathouse. There's a tunnel that leads to the service road." He moved like he'd been here 1,000 times, slipping between trees, staying low. The same lake that had stolen him from me 7 years ago was now our only cover. When we reached the boathouse, the wooden planks creaked beneath our feet. Daniel pushed open the side door and hurried inside. The smell of gasoline and damp wood filled the air. "Here," he said, pulling a duffel bag from beneath a tarp. Inside were files, hard drives, a gun. I stepped back. "You've been hiding here." He nodded. "Off and on. I come back to check the waterline. It's where I faked the accident. I left my old car there to sell the story." Before I could respond, the crunch of boots echoed outside. Daniel grabbed my wrist and whispered, "Don't move." The door creaked open slowly. A silhouette stood in the doorway, gun drawn. "Daniel Whitaker," the voice said coldly. "You've been a very hard man to find." Daniel stepped in front of me, his hands raised. "Claire, get down." A gunshot shattered the air. I screamed and dropped behind the crates as the sound ricocheted off the walls. The bullet tore through the side beam inches from Daniel's head. He fired back once. Twice the figure outside fell backward with a thud. "Come on," Daniel shouted. "We're out of time." We ran out the back exit, sprinting across the muddy ground toward the woods. Sirens wailed in the distance. My lungs burned, my legs screamed, but Daniel didn't stop until we reached the road. He turned to me, breathing hard, eyes wild. "They know you're with me now. You can't go back." "What do you mean?" I gasped. He looked down the road, headlights approaching fast. "It means, Claire, we either disappear together, or we die separately." The headlights were coming fast. Daniel grabbed my hand and pulled me off the road, into the ditch lined with tall grass. The SUV roared past, tires spitting gravel, its red taillights fading into the dark. For a moment, the only sound was our breathing, and the distant hum of sirens fading toward the lake. "Come on," Daniel whispered. "We can't stay out here." We followed the old service path until it opened onto an abandoned gas station. Its flickering sign still read "Open 24 hours, though the windows were boarded up and the pumps were rusted. Daniel pried open a side door and ushered me inside. He lit a small camping lantern. The weak yellow glow cut through the gloom, revealing peeling paint, dust, and silence. He sank against the wall, clutching his arm, my sore blood soaking through his sleeve. "Oh my God, you're hit." I knelt beside him. "It's just a graze," he said, through clenched teeth. "They'll regroup soon. We don't have long." I tore a strip from my jacket and wrapped his arm tight, my hands trembling. "Daniel, this isn't sustainable. You can't keep running like this." He gave a faint, bitter smile. "That's why I reached out to you. You're the only one I can trust. You're the journalist, Claire. You can get this story out." He unzipped the duffel bag, pulling out a hard drive. "Everything's on here, the accounts, the names, the proof of what they've done." "If something happens to me, stop," I interrupted. "Don't you dare talk like that." He looked at me with that same steady gaze I'd fallen in love with years ago. "You always said truth mattered more than anything. Well, this truth can change everything. But it'll paint a target on your back too." Before I could answer, the faint sound of tires crunching gravel echoed outside. Headlights cut across the cracked windows. "They found us," I whispered. Daniel pushed the drive into my hand. "Take the back door and head toward the train tracks. There's an old freight line half a mile east. If you get there, keep running until you see lights. Don't stop." "What about you?" He smiled faintly. "I'll distract them. It's my turn to disappear for the right reason. The last thing I saw as I slipped out the back was Daniel stepping into the open doorway. Gun drawn, light cutting across his face. Then gunfire shouts, silence. I ran until my legs gave out. By dawn, I'd made it to the freight yard. I collapsed beside a boxcar, clutching that hard drive to my chest. 2 days later, the story broke on every major network, a billion-dollar corporate laundering scheme exposed by anonymous sources. The article had no byline, but every word was Daniel's truth and mine. They never found his body. But 3 months later, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single envelope with a paycheck from a small vineyard in Oregon. The name printed at the bottom made my heart stop. Signed, Daniel Whitaker, ... and beneath it, in handwriting only, I would recognize, checkmate. If this story kept you on edge until the end, give it a like and share it with someone who loves a good mystery. And remember, sometimes, the people we think are gone are just waiting for the right moment to make their next move.